Hi and welcome to Children's Chapel Online of Rosslyn Hill Unitarian Church, Hampstead. I'd like to welcome you today, and if you've got a candle with your family nearby, please take the time to light your candle together as I light the one for us all. I light this chalice to celebrate, some smoke there. I light the chalice to celebrate our Unitarian Children's Chapel. We are the chapel of the open minds, the loving hearts, and the helping hands. Now, if you have a moment with your family, please pause this video and share your joys and concerns together. Before you begin to hit pause, I'd just like to share with you my concern this week was of a neighbour dying, unfortunately, and the sadness that it brought my community here in the housing cooperative that I live in. But we've taken some time. We're going to celebrate our neighbour's life and all the joys that she gave. So that was my concern for this week. Hopefully you have something that you can share with your family now. So hit pause and then come back to the video when you've taken a minute together. I hope you've had some time to reflect together and enjoyed that special time that you get. I know we're busy as families each week, but sometimes even being together during lockdown, my family and I sometimes haven't even taken 30 seconds together just to pause and be together. So I think that's a special thing to do. So this week, Kate has been collaborating and sharing Reverend Art Lester's video. He's the minister of the Croydon Unitarians, so another group of Unitarians in London there. And he's been talking about vulnerability and compassion. Two big words, vulnerability and compassion. We talked a little bit about compassion for ourselves last week and self-care. But what does vulnerability mean? That's such a big word, even for adults. So it's the idea that we are fragile as creatures. We know that we are born and we know that someday we will die. But how does that feel, especially in lockdown, when we see other people getting sick and we want to keep ourselves well? And how does our compassion grow? I'm sure during lockdown you realised already, but you realise even more, don't you, that your neighbours need you, you need your neighbours, that we, even in isolation, we have to ask someone perhaps to go on our behalf to buy the food from the supermarket, and the supermarkets have to try and store the food and get the food in from the different suppliers. But we're dependent on nature as well, the oceans, the forest, all the beautiful things, and that's what makes living so special. So vulnerability, I suppose, is this feeling of not, wanting to get sick yourself, but also feeling compassion that you don't want others to feel sick and to get sick, and so or to be hurt, or any pain inflicted on them. And that's a huge big feeling, and it makes your love for yourself but for others grow, and that's such a beautiful thing. And I think if your parents are watching the Croydon minister, Reverend Lester, talk about it, he talks about this idea of going through life, and perhaps some people not even taking much time to think about that, but during this time it's definitely been a clear message for everybody. So how do we feel about that? And I've got a story to share to you about two animals written about in Aesop's fables called the ant and the grasshopper. And one of the animals, the ant, likes to work together as a team, and the other one likes to prepare for the future. But the other one, the grasshopper, he just says, today is for living. Today I'm just going to go for it and, not think about the future too much, which is a special thing too. So I'd like to share this story with you. It's called The Ant and the Grasshopper. So here we go. In a field one summer's day, a grasshopper was hopping about, chirping and singing to its heart's content. And a little tiny ant passed by, bearing with it great toil, big hard work. It was carrying a whole ear of corn. Can you imagine? Like one of those big sweet corns you might have eaten. And it was doing it with its friends. And it was taking it to the nest for the other ants. And the grasshopper looked at the ant and he said, "Why not come over, just drop your corn and what you're doing, come and be with me, instead of toiling and moiling, working so hard." "Well," the ant said, "I'd love to, but I'm a bit busy. I'm helping to lay food for the winter," said the ant. "And not only that, I recommend that you stop playing your violin, Mr. Grasshopper. Stop messing about and playing too much, and you come and help and get prepared too." "Oh," said the grasshopper, "why bother about the winter? We have plenty of food at present." Well, the ant just had to respect the grasshopper, and the grasshopper just respected the ant. And the ant went on its way and continued to work really, really hard that summer's day. But when the winter came, the grasshopper had no food, and it felt itself feeling very hungry, very long, almost dying, while it saw the ants distributing and giving out all the food that they'd worked so hard in the summer to prepare. And then the grasshopper knew. He said, "I do like playing violin and mucking about and having fun, but I also have to prepare when there's an abundance for the winter." And so the grasshopper learnt that it had to take a harvest in the summer so that it was ready for the days of the winter. Now, this story is usually told to say exactly that you must prepare, you must think ahead. And sometimes you just can't know everything, as you've seen, all the scientists and the doctors and the government trying to work really hard to make it better for us. But I suppose if you were just living off the field, you would definitely use the summer to get all your food, and you'd store it away, and what you couldn't store you might make into jams or other things and put them in containers and keep them there. And then in the winter you'd have enough food when there wasn't the food growing outside so much. But there is another thing, I think. What do you think about this? What was the difference between the ant and the grasshopper? Was who worked with people and who worked by themselves? That's right, the ants. The ants work as a big network of creatures together. They're in their togetherness and they work really hard together. And I think that's a really good thing to take from this story, that when we're at our most vulnerable, we need each other. But also when we're not vulnerable, we need each other and to support each other. So in doing that, our help for each other can grow and to be strong for each other. And sometimes if we are fragile, there'll be strong people around us. And when those strong people are fragile, we can help them. And it's only in their vulnerability and their asking for help that can really enhance love in the community and shared friendships. So it's really important to ask for help when you need it. And people's compassion and understanding will grow. They will appreciate what's happening to you and what you might need help for. So it's definitely a double thing. And I'm sure if the grasshopper had asked really nicely, then the ants would have helped him, even if he had innocently disregarded the ants' information in the summer. I like to think so anyway, before he got too hungry. Now, compassion is a big thing in Buddhism, and I know we had a song last week, but when I was a student, someone taught me a lovely prayer with some signals that help us look after ourselves but look outward. And it starts like this: "May I be well and happy." You have to cuddle up your fist, as Jensen says, put one over the other and hold it towards yourself, and you can close your eyes if you like, and you can picture yourself when you're really happy. Can you picture yourself? It might be now or in the past. May I be well and happy. And hopefully you have a strong image of yourself in your mind. Now the next thing, when you've established that, and hopefully you can establish that, is to put your hands together and say, may you be well and happy. So have a think of someone very close to you. It might be a parent or a brother or sister or a best friend. May you be well and happy. And you can imagine them being well and happy. They might be watching their favourite show or eating their favourite food or laughing at something together. Such a nice feeling. And then the last thing, and you can practice this during the week because sometimes it's hard to do all of this in one go. I think Buddhist monks do years of this training. You open up your hands like a flower, spread them out and say, may all be well and happy. And you can make it as a flowing, almost as a dance, may all be well and happy. You can sing it if you want, so may I be well and happy. May you be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. It's a very simple prayer and affirmation. And sometimes when I feel at my most vulnerable, or I know that someone's feeling vulnerable, I will say that little prayer or mantra out loud and sing it, and the vibrations in your body are supposed to help you feel better too, and that you're giving a positive mental image. So when you say all be well and happy, wow, that's a big strong message, and it frees you up. You're just saying everybody together. Very, very special. Sometimes when I don't know what to pray as well, or I blow a dandelion and someone says, make a wish and don't tell anybody, I just say in my mind, may all be well and happy. Then I think you've pretty much got it covered. So thank you for letting me share that with you. Some of you at Children's Chapel knew that we read a book called The Paper Dolls by Julia Donaldson, and I made some paper dolls earlier. It's a very lovely story about people who don't let go of each other. And I know we haven't been able to hold hands recently, but hopefully soon we'll be back in a circle and be able to play some games like this, holding hands. So I thought it might be nice to remember that and to make some paper dolls together. So I'm just going to get a fresh sheet of paper and show you how to make your own paper dolls. Okay, so you just need some plain paper and a pen or pencil, and if you're safe with your parents or carer, you can get some scissors. They're ready to cut out. So how many did I make? I made 5 people together, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to fold it up. I think that you need to make it, do you have a ruler, something like that, like a 30 centimetre ruler, usually the width of about a classroom ruler, that kind of width, so you can see how, can you see how much there? Okay, and then concertina it, so you folded it that way into itself, and then you want to turn it over and fold it back the other way. Yes, I hope I'm explaining this right. And then flip it over and fold it back the other way. And one more time. And I hope that it's about even. It doesn't have to be exact, I don't think. Here we go. And then you turn it round. So you should have a kind of concertina shape like that. Keep it tightly folded together. And on the edge, where it's folded, the first edge, there's going to be a place that you don't cut where the arms meet here. So I'll draw it out and show you. So I'll just pause that. Okay, so I've just drawn her, well, I think it's a female. Boys wear skirts too, that's totally fine. So it could be a boy or a girl. You could draw them wearing anything you could do, or you could do any if you like dressing up, or a superhero. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to remember not to cut where her arm is in that fold, okay? So don't cut that bit, because that's where they'll be holding hands, which is lovely. So I'll just pause it. Okay, so hopefully you or your family member has helped you cut out your paper dolls, and this is the fun bit. So we get to, oh, they've come out like little hearts between them as well. That's nice. That didn't happen the first time. You can unravel them, a bit like your paper lanterns, aren't they? Which I loved. And you can see they're holding hands. There we go. They did come out a bit higgledy-piggledy. I think the thicker your paper, the better. And if you've got any colouring pens now, you can decorate them and give them all different funny expressions. Some could be sticking out the tongue, some could be going, some could be sad, some could be happy. So whatever you're feeling. And they're really lovely. And then you can make little stories up with them. Really, really, really like that. I've never done that before. Last time I cheated and I bought some cutout ones, but that really is fun, isn't it? And you can make them into a little circle, perhaps. Look, it almost looks like one of your little lanterns, but they're all in a circle together. And the nice thing about the Paper Doll Story by Julia Donaldson is that no matter what, and I don't want to spoil the story too much if you should read it, it's fantastic, is that no matter what happens, they always come back together. And each mother shows their daughter or their son how to make paper dolls, and they just keep getting made. And I think that's what the Reverend Lester was talking about, that sometimes we all know that the sandcastles we're going to build or the paper dolls that we make might get ruined, but new generations will come and they'll keep building, we'll keep building what we have to make sense of all the reasons that we're here, and that we must live for each day like the grasshopper, but plan for the future. So I just think that's a lovely thing. Do send in some pictures if you make them. So I'll put them over here for now. I'm going to decorate mine. And I'd like to finish with the closing words. So here we are. Okay. As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness that we learn light our hearts until we return. Citronella this week. Hasn't had long to establish, but I know if I liked it a bit more, I'll be able to smell citronella. I do like my scented candles, don't I? I hope you have a lovely week and get to say your prayers and your blessings if you want to share them, and that you have fun making your paper dolls. Bye for now. Bye.